Hi everyone, my name is Cece Lindsay, and today I will be talking about competency to exercise the right to remain silent. I apologize for the clipping at the top. I'm not too sure why that keeps happening, but the title says the Fifth Amendment, and I just want to kick things off by exploring the adoption of the Fifth Amendment, which is essentially a vital part of our Bill of Rights. And this set of amendments, speaking of the Bill of Rights, is the backbone of our Constitution, and it just safeguards all of our freedoms entirely. And the primary aim for the Fifth Amendment was to shield individuals from government overreach in legal proceedings, not only with the right to remain silent, but there are a lot of other key provisions. For example, we have grand jury, which mandates that serious crimes, with few exceptions in military cases, require a grand jury indictment. We also have double jeopardy, which ensures that no one can be tried twice for the same offense, which prevents endless legal harassment. We have our main focus today, which is the right to remain silent and the right against self incrimination. And this is a line that you'll see a lot in movies when people don't want to answer a question that could get them in trouble. They'll say something like, "Oh, I plead the fifth." This is the fifth that they are speaking of. And then we also have due process, which guarantees fair treatment throughout the judicial system, and it prevents, I'm sorry, and it ensures that everyone receives their day in court under equitable conditions. Lastly, we do have the eminent domain, which requires compensation when private property is seized for public use. And some historical impact behind the Fifth Amendment. One significant outcome was what we know as the Miranda rights, and that stems from the landmark case of Miranda v. Arizona in 1966, which requires that officers inform suspects of their rights, including their right to remain silent. And we also will be talking about legal precedents. And so, through the Supreme Court's interpretations of the Fifth Amendment, it has been extended to apply to both federal and state levels via the 14th Amendment. This is just another quick background on the Fifth Amendment. And then we also talk about the importance of competency to exercise this right, because it's important to highlight that competency is essential to make sure that individuals fully understand and can effectively exercise their rights. And when competency is lacking, it can lead to coercion or just overall ununiform decisions, which undermine the fairness and justice of legal proceedings, which is just not good for anyone involved. And we will also be, of course, using expertise and opinions from Gary B. Melton today. So, in terms of legal framework, we are going to discuss the legal standards for competence to waive rights. And competence to waive rights involves the ability to understand the rights that are being waived and the consequences of such a waiver. So courts assess whether an individual has the cognitive and psychological capacity to make that sort of decision. And some things that they take into consideration when they are making this decision is intellectual functioning, mental illness, developmental disabilities, age and maturity, influence of drugs or alcohol, coercion or duress, and educational background, along with previous legal experiences. And as I mentioned just a couple slides ago, we see that in cases like Miranda v. Arizona, and two more cases that people may not know too much about. But Miranda v. Arizona, this case established the requirement for law enforcement to inform individuals of their rights, which are now known as Miranda rights. We have Godinez v. Moran, or Morin, I apologize. and that addressed the standard for competency to waive the right to counsel and plead guilty. And it also emphasizes the need for a defendant to fully comprehend the implications of making that sort of decision to waive right. And then we have Indiana v. Edwards, and this case clarified the distinction between competence to stand trial and competence to represent oneself. And it also just highlights the different levels of competence required for different levels of legal proceedings. So next we are going to talk about psychological evaluations and most importantly the role of mental health professionals in assessing competence. So these experts are responsible for assessing cognitive and psychological abilities to determine if someone can truly understand and exercise their legal rights. And some key factors that they take into consideration during these evaluations are cognitive ability, understanding of right. They also volunteer if the individual's decision to waive rights is made freely and without coercion. And then they also take mental illness and developmental disabilities into consideration. And there are challenges that rise up with these sorts of assessments because individuals may be varying in different levels of cognitive abilities and understanding. And sometimes interrogation can be stressful, which could also be affecting competence as well. And so Melton's perspective on expert opinions is that the admissibility of experts' opinions should be based on whether their specialized knowledge assists the fact finder in decision making, because while a functional approach is necessary, it does increase the complexity of judicial decisions regarding expert opinions. And so, some key points that he mentions in the book are some key points that he mentions about um, psychological evaluations for the court is that judges should have a functional approach. Mental health professionals who complete forensics training and demonstrate competence should be presumed qualified as experts in relevant cases. A certification program can enhance the prestige of the title and attract competent clinicals and provide mentoring opportunities, and that's involving certification benefits. And he also believes it's important to balance inclusivity and standards because while certified forensic clinicians should handle the initial publicly funded evaluations, non-certified but experienced professionals should not be they should not be not allowed to provide expert testimonies. So this is just another overview of the case studies that we went over and the outcomes and implications that we already spoke about briefly, but the Miranda v. Arizona, of course, make sure that individuals are aware of their right to remain silent and that we protect them against self-incrimination. Go to Nez v. Moran. Make sure that that individuals understand the consequences of waiving their rights. And then we have Indiana v. Edwards, which just brought knowledge to the fact that there are different standards of competency for different levels of legal proceedings. I cannot click this link for whatever reason. I've been trying since the start of the assignment and I do not know how to fix it, but I will provide this link in the YouTube video. But this video briefly talks about competence and why it is important for someone to use their right to remain silent. Just a little overview of everything that we've already gone over. Is my reference page. Discussion question is, considering the ethical dilemmas faced by mental health professionals during forensic evaluations, such as ensuring informed consent, maintaining confidentiality, and avoiding biases, how can practitioners balance these responsibilities while adhering to legal standards like those outlined in the Fifth Amendment, particularly in the context of assessing an individual's competence to exercise the right to remain silent?